Humans, the dominant life form on Earth. A 7 billion strong, planet-wide race of space-traveling bipedal apes, capable of great technological marvels.
America. How did we come this far, and where did we start?
The earliest known people to America are the hundreds of American Indian tribes that settled across the continent. Their culture was based on
agriculture, hunting and gathering, polytheistic rituals, art, and warfare.
Beginning in Jamestown in 1606, the Europeans began colonizing and taking over the North American lands. They brought with them their cultural beliefs and traditions. Their society was based on farming, family life, and religion.
American culture was greatly impacted by European ideas. The American Enlightenment in 1714 and the Great Awakening in the late 1730s and 1740s led to innovative ideas that transformed the American society.
The first Great Awakening did in America what the Reformation did in Europe. It got people back to a vital, real, living religion.
On the homestead, family life revolved around farming, agriculture, and religion. Trade was booming, and they began to trade not only goods, but slaves through the Atlantic slave trade. To the African Americans, religion was the cornerstone of their culture. Working on the southern plantations, the white slaveholders tried stripping them of their culture, but they retained it.
America entered into the nationalism era with an increase in expansion, transportation, and trade. Early industrialization promoted factory jobs for lower-class laborers, mainly women and children. Wages were low, workdays were long, and laborers were poorly treated.
Social movements worked to open the eyes of the industrial America. The main reforms were focused on the ban of alcohol, the roles of women, improving education, and the treatment of workers. They were led by social leaders like Lyman Beecher, Horace Mann, and Dorothea Dix. Among other reforms were pacifism, prison reform, and an end to capital punishment. These reforms would later spark the Progressive Era. Slavery became such an issue that in 1861 the Civil War broke out, dividing the nation in half. After the war, there was a period of Reconstruction. However, the war didn't stop discrimination among blacks. If anything, it increased racism through laws like the Black Codes and Jim Crow laws. The Progressive Era lasted from the mid-1890s through World War I and reflected worry about the effects of industrialization, social order, and the state of society. In 1900, roles of society were changing. Unions like the women's trade unions worked for women's rights. African Americans organized movements like the Niagara Movement and the NAACP. The Roaring Twenties, an age of rebellion. Women began wearing shorter skirts and showing leg. Staying out all night was common. New dances like the Charleston were popular. And writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote about the time period of prosperity. Prohibition in 1919 caused an uprising among all social classes that led to protests. Finally, it was repealed, even though no one actually followed it anyway. In the 1930s, America's economic system experienced a great crash, leading to tremendously high rates of unemployed and nationwide poverty. FDR was inaugurated and he created multiple agencies of reform, called the New Deal. While it took some time, America eventually rose from the Great Depression, but experienced another world war directly after. The Vietnam War brought youthful rebellion and pacifist movements. College students challenged adult values in clothing, hairstyles, sexual conduct, work habits, and music. Music became influential and a way to unite people nationwide. Singers like Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones are some of the most popular of that age. The turbulent 60s encompassed African American civil rights movements. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Had a Dream speech. and rallied civil rights movements like the Black Power.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
The 20th century and 21st century brought a revival of immigration. In 2002, people of Hispanic origin became the nation's largest ethnic group. In the 2000s, America became known for its multiracial society. From the 1970s on, the number of working women increased sharply, and the wage gap between the sexes narrowed. The years following 1970 brought active gay rights movements. America excelled in scientific innovations. Neil Armstrong became the first man to step foot on the moon in July 20th, 1969. New medicines were developed to stop outbreaks such as AIDS in the 1980s. Iconic pop stars like Michael Jackson and classic films like Jaws and the Harry Potter series dominated the media. Today, America is filled with multiple languages, races, and cultures. President Obama was the first African American president to take office. Our culture is comprised of technology, which provides us with a way of communicating through popular social media sites or texting. The transformation of our culture is astounding, and we can only look forward to the cultural innovations that are in the near future.
You got me pity, 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 baby, I want you.